name after name after name after name. So in the middle of chapter 6, we get a genealogy, which is basically like a family tree, right? It's just this list of names that shows us who the father is, who the sons are, who the mother is sometimes, who the grandsons are. It shows us this family tree, and ultimately in chapter 6, it's introducing Aaron. It's telling us who this brother of Moses is, where did he come from, who did he come from, and also who came from him. Who were his sons, who were his grandsons, who's related to him. See, we get a bunch of genealogies throughout Scripture, and it always tells us a little bit about someone's identity. In the New Testament, we see this identity connecting Adam and David and Jesus. We see this identity in who they are, in how they're related, and in ultimately how Jesus comes from this line of kings. And in chapter 6 in Exodus, we see Aaron is related to Moses, and Aaron comes from the tribe of Levi, who ultimately becomes the tribe that takes care of God's tabernacle, takes care of God's temple. Right? It's this tribe that is committed to serving God. And as we look deeper, we begin to see names that we can recognize from other parts of Scripture. We hear about how they lived. We hear about what their lives were like. We hear about whether or not they served God or served themselves. See, genealogies can be a little boring to go through because it's ultimately just a list of names. But what it does is it begins to remind us that God knows people. God knows us personally. And when we think about the lives that we live, God is well aware of who you are, who I am. And he knows us. And when he gives us these list of names, he begins to remind us that he is well aware of how we're living, who we're related to, and who we're in community with, and what we're doing to serve him. See, the connection that we can make from this genealogy to those stories that are later on in the Old Testament helps us to understand the testimony of these people's lives. Helps us to understand who Aaron is and who his family is. And it reminds us to consider the fact that if our name was listed in a genealogy, what would be the testimony of our lives? What would be the testimony of our ministry? How would people remember us? Would we be remembered as those who've served God and who pursued him and pursued his plan? Would we be remembered as someone who served ourselves and served our plans? What would people say if you were listed in a genealogy? What would they remember?